So this is the full breakdown.
Love of God, whatever you do in an interview process, do not forget to ask the high performer question.
Curiosity hook.
Despite my current garb, I just got back from the gym.
Car makes it casual and authentic.
I've been in a lot of interviews in a lot of corporate settings.
Credibility, so you listen.
High performer question always kills. It's very simple. It sounds like this.
Speed to value, no long intro.
You're going to interview. This is you asking the interviewer.
Ideas, job interviews, high TAM.
You're probably going to interview a lot of people who can do the job. But in your opinion, what does the high performer look like? And then you just stop talking. You let them tell you exactly what they're looking for in the person that goes above and beyond to execute in this role.
But the real reason this did 10 million views is because what he shared was non-obvious and highly tactical. You got a dopamine hit because you can use what he said today if you needed to.
This is my buddy Michael Smoke, and you might know him as Higher Up Wellness. He has 900,000 followers only on Instagram and has like multiple millions across platforms. But this is his most viewed reel all time. 10.4 million views, 500,000 likes, 45x outlier. What that means is it got 45 times more views than his usual content, and your averages or his median is 230,000 views, which is top tier. But before we get started, you might be thinking, who the hell am I? What do I know about content? Besides managing $21.7 million in ad spend on Facebook and Instagram ads, I also grew 100,000 followers in 5 weeks. These are just a few things that people comment on my page and say. He followed my advice, hasn't paid me a single dollar, and added 100,000 followers in a month. You went from 300 followers to 34,000 followers in 10 days. Rebecca added 10,000 followers within one post. And he also went from 2K to 24K in a matter of weeks. So what are we going to cover today? We're going to cover 5 different things. First thing I want to talk about is how to script rhythm, even if you have no rhythm at all. The second thing is how can we create curiosity so you can stop the scroll every single time. Third thing is what is TAM and how can you manipulate the TAM so you can reach more of your ideal viewers. These are people that we don't just want empty views, we want views that turn into leads and clients every single week. Fourth thing is superhook. What is a superhook? So you can implement it and easily build trust and give people a reason to watch your content. Fifth thing is net new value. And this is the thing that I focus on the most. By implementing net new value, you'll be able to get people to binge your content. So first thing I want you to note is pace and rhythm. This is Michael's video script extracted. This is the entire transcript, and I want you to look at how, like, when I'm connecting the dots towards each line, it draws this jagged line, right? Kind of a medium sentence lengthwise, and then a longer sentence, short, medium, short, longer. And this is what you want to focus on when you're creating and writing your script. This jagged line means that you're creating rhythm and pacing within. If your script looks like this, for example, and it looks down, like when you connect the end of each line and it draws a straight line, that means it's going to be this flat monotone delivery that won't sound fun for the viewer, and it will be hard for you to deliver and it will sound boring. So it's just a very easy test that you want to quickly do when you're writing your script, just to make sure that it looks jagged. If it's jagged, you're good to go. If it's straight, rewrite it. Before we get to the second thing, I want to quickly share a bit of billionaire advice. Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett, arguably the best investors of all time. Charlie Munger had this quote that said, "It is remarkable how much long-term advantage people like us have gotten by trying to be consistently not stupid instead of trying to be very intelligent." And this is extremely relevant to people in content because most gurus and these content people are always telling you to add a whole bunch of stuff. You need to use this fancy edit. You need to use this sound effect if you want to get people to have this sort of emotion. Add this, add that, and it gets super overwhelming. So what I found, which is aligns with what Charlie Munger says, is we would want to use subtraction instead of addition. So I created a 100% flop checklist that guarantees my video fails. So what a 100% flop checklist would say, like one of the example would be like, do not use a hook, or do not use a hook that creates curiosity within the first 3 seconds. And by following the entire checklist, it will 100% guarantee I fail. So what do I do instead is I look at that checklist for every single video. I make sure I do the absolute opposite. It makes it easier just to gauge as like, okay, what should I not do? And by removing everything that's bad, it naturally makes your video good. So if you want a copy of that, there's no opt-in or whatever. You can just click the link in the description and you can download a copy of, my 100% flop checklist. Just do the opposite, and chances are it'll be your best video yet. Okay, next thing, curiosity hook. Why is curiosity hook important? This is the first line that Michael said within his script. He said, "For the love of God, whatever you do in an interview process, do not forget to ask the high performer question." So before I dive into why is there curiosity, we need to understand why do we need curiosity, right? So you have to understand that no one is looking to learn on Instagram. You're on Instagram to be entertained. You might be on YouTube to learn. You will search things that you want to learn on YouTube and consume these like long form videos, maybe even this one, in order to learn how to create better content. But you're not on Instagram doing that. You're just scrolling at 50 miles per hour trying to be entertained. So why do we need curiosity? The main thing is because curiosity is created through partial knowledge. All we're trying to do within our hook is actually just to stop the scroll. You know, you see all these like content creators that say like, hey, comment the word hooks and I'll send you, 1,000 hook templates, and you can just, these viral hooks you can just copy and paste within your content. But those are tactics, and tactics only work when they aren't common knowledge. Once a tactic is overdone, it loses its power, which is why you always want to learn principles instead of tactics, because principles last forever. Tactics are only just for that, the early adopters, the first movers, that like the first 10 people that say like, oh, I don't know who needs to hear this, but you skip every reel that you watch that says that line, which is why whenever I scroll content, whenever I hear those same lines again and again, I already tune out and it loses its effect. I'll keep scrolling because I know they're using that as a tactic in order to try to like hack my attention. So once you understand principles, you'll be able to create, curiosity a lot more effectively. And the reason why, the layer but behind the hooks is like, why do we need hooks? Hooks is just to stop the scroll. It's to create enough curiosity for the viewer to stop and say like, hey, I want to listen more. I want to hear the second line. And if you create content, you understand that like each line of your script is only supposed to get the viewer to the next line. It's not supposed to jump from like the start to the end. Each line just gets them to the next end. If you do that effectively, they'll get all the way to the end. So the thing to focus on is like partial knowledge. Why is that important? You can see right here. What do you want to know is right here. And what do you know? What you do know. And there's this gap right here. And that is basically the content that we're creating, right? This information gap. And you have to know, you have to have partial knowledge in order to have curiosity. If you know nothing, you don't care. If you know everything, you don't care either. You have to know just enough about a certain topic, and I add a little bit of a twist towards it. That's how you become curious. So I'll give you a very simple visual example, right? Look at this. If this actually loads, look at this puzzle. That one piece right here, one, you physically cannot look away, and two, you're already envisioning it as like, okay, I know how it'll look if that was completed. But that is because I've created, partial knowledge, giving you like the outside of like all the pieces put together. But then there's one specific piece that just isn't there, and that's enough to create this gap. It's like where it puts on the blinkers in your head. It's like, oh, okay, what's going on there? Why do I need to pay attention? And that is what we're trying to do with our, curiosity hook, which is to stop the scroll. So if we go back to what Michael said on the first time, the main thing is like, do not forget to ask the high performer question. In your head, you already understand an interview process means getting a job. You're thinking, what the heck is a high performer question? That is what he's created right there. That stops your scroll. So you're thinking, I understand, in the interview process, but what is the high performer question? And he's saying, do not forget. So obviously means that it's important. So what am I forgetting? What do I not know? That creates just enough of a curiosity gap that you will watch the next sentence. Okay, what is he saying next? So let me give you a few examples of what like curiosity hooks are. Let me start with a bad example first. And this is actually a post that I did a couple days ago. And it is because I thought it's like, oh, I know content so well, I don't need to create enough curiosity to start. I can just swap it out with and use a different type of hook that does not create curiosity. And lo and behold, 103 likes and has like the worst that like my average baseline view is about like 10 to 20,000 on average. And this video, I think on day one did 5,000 views, which is absolutely horrible for my account specifically.
I got 1,200 leads and 17 paid applications to join my program with one post.
Did you hear that? I got 1,200 leads and 17 paid applications to join my program with one post. That creates zero curiosity. Like, yeah, you might be like, if you're in you're a business owner, you're generating leads or whatnot, like that might be a little bit of affinity. And you might be like, oh, okay, how did you do that? But that was nowhere near enough to create curiosity compared to these other good examples. This should be 130,000. Let me show you. Let me play you.
It took me 7 months to learn 3 lines that forces people into a trance.
Okay, so that's interesting, right? You see how, like I said, it took me 7 months, so it's specific, to learn 3 lines, so it's simple enough that you can learn. That forces people into a trance. So what I'm trying to create is like the feeling of like you can force people into a trance. Like that's like the thoughts that is going through your head. Like you're scrolling, you're consuming passively. You're not even actively thinking about this, right? This reel will just like come onto your screen and you're like, okay, you can force people into a trance and it only takes 3 lines. What are those 3 lines? Can I use it for can I use it on my friends? Can I use it on people that I know? Can I use it for my content? I don't know. So let me keep watching. So that is why that line was extremely effective. I'll show you another example right here.
You ever notice how people who run talk about being runners, but people who try to run just talk about trying to go on run?
Okay, so that was like a non-obvious take, right? It creates curiosity. It's like, do you ever wonder? It's like every time since you were a kid, and when people ask you, it's like, have you ever wondered? Have you ever thought about? Is it possible? You're instantly thinking. It opens that question where you have to like fill in that, close that gap and close that loop, right? And so he's talking about like running, and it's like it's something that you're familiar enough, but it's like, I've never thought about it that way. How come? Why? So you keep watching. Next example, I think has 20 something million views, which is why you can see like the likes is 1.8 million likes. Just watch the first couple seconds of this video. I'm just gonna pause it right there. What do you think what is going through your mind? You're thinking, is that a measuring tape going to be able to open that bottle cap, like the beer bottle? And she's measuring it a few times. That is creating curiosity. Moving that back and forth a few times has created enough curiosity, because the first time she's measuring it, you might not know, right? If she just held it right there, she's like, oh, okay, is she just measuring like how long that bottle is? But by moving that front and back a few times, you know she's trying to aim to see if like the end of the measuring tape is going to be able to open the beer bottle. So that is like another way that she's able to create curiosity even without using any sort of words. So how can you create curiosity effectively? There are many ways to do so, but the easiest way is to state a common belief and then contradict it. And this is the principle. I am teaching you how to fish instead of giving you the fish. This is not some tactic that say like, hey, I don't know who needs to hear this, but just uses every single time and you just rinse and repeat with your content. This is a principle. You can state a common belief, and this applies to any niche that you are in. There are always common beliefs, right? Whether you are a chef, there might be a common belief that like, oh, in order to cook the best eggs, you have to use butter. I don't know. I'm just riffing off of my head. Or if you are a basketball coach, it might be like most kids nowadays think that like you have to have a 3-pointer in order to make it to the NBA. I don't know. I'm just making up these things, but it doesn't matter what niche you're in or what topic you like to talk about. There are always common beliefs, like established common beliefs that people already have. So the first thing you want to do is you want to state a common belief, and then the second part is you want to contradict it. And by doing so, you're going to create a massive curiosity gap, because we give them the information that they already, that partial knowledge right there, and then we contradict it, and it gives them. It's like it causes this error in their heads, like, huh? That doesn't make sense. That's not what I'm used to hearing. So what are they saying here? I need to pay attention. What's going on? So here's an example, right? I say most creators struggle to create curiosity, or most creators struggle with stopping the scroll, or most creators struggle with writing hooks, but it's only because they don't know this formula. Most creators rely on copy and paste hook templates, but it's only because they don't know this formula. You're thinking, okay, now what is that formula? I am already a creator that if I'm speaking directly to these creators that are using those tactics that like they try and like it never works, they're going to instantly feel like I am speaking directly to them because it is their common belief, right? If they're using and downloading these hook templates, but it never works, I'm first pinpointing that. The second thing I then say, it's like, but it's only because they don't know this formula or principle or whatnot. Then I can go on to like my next line. So you see how like I'm able to create curiosity effectively because I state a common belief and contradict it. So that's the first thing you would want to do within your curiosity hook. So the second thing that Michael did that added to his 10.4 million views is using a high TAM idea. So what does TAM stand for? It stands for a total addressable market. And he actually controlled the addressable market within his hook. And he specifically said, whatever you do in an interview process. So you can see if I show you the full hook back then, it's like, for the love of God, whatever you do in an interview process, do not forget to ask the high performer question. And so the key word being interview process. So the first thing you have to understand is, why is TAM important? What is the TAM? So TAM, like I said, total addressable market. But the thing to remember is we only like things that are relevant to us. We consume 10 million pieces of content every single day. You're scrolling. Your brain is constantly trying to filter out like stuff that's like, oh, irrelevant. I don't care about that. Oh, or this. Oh, I actually like this. I care about this. I would want to pay attention. So how do we determine this? And so an easy example is men versus women. This is like the simplest way to explain it. So imagine if I was like a fitness coach and I said, men, this is the best workout you need to do in order to get in the best shape possible. Guess who's instantly tuning out? Women. Because the word men already predetermined that. So whether you are aware or unaware, you're constantly manipulating a TAM depending on the choices of the word choices that you're using. Because if you said you want to have like make it relevant to everyone, but then you said, oh, hey guys, if you are a guy trying to get in the best shape of your life, this is, what you should be doing. Women are just going to instantly tune out. So you have to be very careful with your choice of words because it controls your TAM. And if you segment half the population out, then of course the views are going to be, higher or lower depending on how you want to put it. So another example I can show you is like athletic people versus regular people, right? If I talk about like, hey, athletes, if I don't label myself as an athlete, I don't consider myself as an athlete, well, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to scroll. It's irrelevant to me. So I might as well watch something else that like, it is relevant to me. Another thing I could do, another example would be Asian versus Chinese, right? If I made like a funny joke that said like, Asians, don't you think it's funny when we... So that would apply to a large group of people, right? It doesn't matter if you're Chinese, Japanese, Korean. Like, as long as you're Asian, you'd be like, okay, this is relevant to me. Let me pay attention. But if I said, Chinese people, isn't it funny when we say... Well, the other Asians might tune out because I say Chinese people. So obviously the joke or the valuable information or the content isn't relevant to me. So this is why the TAM is very important. So what I want to do now is show you some high TAM examples that you can just to demonstrate the point a little better. You can see this is one of my videos right here. I think this did 330,000 views, but I control a TAM just using the on-screen text hook. I say how to 2x your views today. Well, chances are if you're a content creator and you're on the platform and you see this would be relevant to you. You'd be like, oh, okay, I want to double my views today. So that's why it has a high TAM and it allows for like a broad reach. Second example right here by Vin, you can see 4 steps to improve your speech. Well, a lot of people want to speak better. You communicate on a day-to-day basis with everyone. So anyone who just wants to make sure that they're communicating more effectively, this is going to apply to them, which is why it has a high TAM. If it said like 4 steps to speak better in Korean, then it will only be relevant to Korean people. But this is 4 steps to improve your speech. So technically, as long as you understand English and you apply the 4 steps that he said, it doesn't matter what language you speak, it will still be relevant. Another thing, another more humorous video example right here is like what to do with your feelings as a man. And I'll play it for the first few seconds so you can see.
This is how you're going to deal with your feelings? as a man. When you feel angry, what you want to do is punch a wall, but what you really need is to draw a boundary. And the way you're going to do that is you're going to state clearly what you need from others and to yourself. When you're feeling
So these are high TAM examples, like if you're feeling frustrated, when you're feeling angry, and these are only specific to men. So if you're a woman, maybe you'll send this video to your boyfriend or husband or partner or whatnot, but then chances are you're probably going to tune out. Like, it's only guys that are going to watch this, which is why this has I think 2.5 million views and 124,000 likes. Is because it has a high TAM. So how can you increase the TAM? Well, the simplest way is just to apply it to more people. So I'll use a basketball coach as an example, right? So a low TAM video would be how to dunk off of your left leg. And these numbers of like the view range is just arbitrage. I'm just using these to demonstrate my point, but it might have like a very, very low TAM because you have to first understand how many basketball players or how many people in the world can dunk. The second thing is, like, if you making a video about how to dunk off of your left leg, how many people would want to learn how to dunk off their left leg? Or maybe there are like professional athletes, or they're people that are thinking of going pro, like players that are thinking about going pro. So that would be a much smaller group. But if you change it and say like how to shoot a 3-pointer, well, that might just, the idea of it might even get just more views because it applies to a larger addressable market. A kid would learn how to shoot a 3-pointer just as much as a professional player would want to learn how to shoot better 3-pointers. But a high TAM idea might be just how to play basketball. If a grandma doesn't know the rules of basketball, and you made a video on like, oh, how to play basketball, here are the basic rules, she will still be entertained. I mean, she will still find value from that. It doesn't matter if, they're 8 years old and learning to play basketball for the first time, or they're 80 years old and they're just trying to refresh the memory on the rules. It would still apply, which is why it'll have a high TAM. So the main thing I want you to note is high does not mean better. Just be aware. Like I said, if you are a coach that you're specifically only teaching people how to dunk, and you're doing like a left leg, right leg video, that might be a good sized TAM for you. Just because like it does not like a million view, obviously hypothetical again, million view TAM video, high TAM is going to reach a lot more people, doesn't mean that it's bad. The problem is you do not want to misalign your expectations. If you're using a low TAM idea, but you're expecting a million views, as a high TAM video, then that's where you're gonna get those misalignment, and you're not gonna be happy with the results because it's misaligned. So just remember that high does not mean better. Just be aware of what level you're creating at: high, medium, low, and then control it, depending on like the goal that you have. Okay, so Michael created Curiosity, and he used a high TAM idea that is built to have like the reach and the distribution. The third thing he used is a super hook. So you can see right here, he said as his second or third line, he said, I have been in a lot of interviews in a lot of corporate settings, and the high performer question always kills. This is like it's like very, very important. It might sound like, oh, it's so simple, like he just riffed off of that, but you have to understand the super hook will determine whether people will trust you or not. So why do we need a super hook, right? Viewers need a reason to watch. I'm sure you're scrolling on Instagram all the time and you're watching these like educational videos. So whether you're conscious or subconsciously, the first few reasons is like, okay, they capture your attention. The next question in your head you're thinking instantly is, should I listen to them? Why should I watch this? What's in it for me? That's basically the top 3 questions you can see right here. Why should they trust you? Why should they listen? What's in it for them? And if we don't give the viewer a reason and we don't have credibility, then why would they watch? It's like if I am talking to you about content, I'm doing all these breakdown videos, and I'm saying like, hey, this is what you should do at 100,000 followers. That gets you leads and clients every single week, and these are educational, ideal followers, and I haven't done it myself. Would you listen to me? Why? If you would, why? It's like you always want to listen to advice from people that have achieved what you've already achieved, in hopes that they'll be able to shed some light and you will have to pay like less of those like dummy tax, right? So a super hook is basically the second or third line in your script that you always want to use in order to demonstrate credibility. So let me give you a few examples right here. This video of mine did 100,000 views, so I'm gonna play it real quick and I'll even break down the first few lines for you.
If you want to cheat and add 100,000 followers faster than all of your competitors combined, you need to take the back door.
Okay, so did you catch that? If you want to cheat, that instantly makes anyone curious because cheating is unethical, is borderline, but it's scandalous enough where like it will instantly catch your attention. It's like if you want to cheat, you're like, at least you're curious. Whether you're going to or you don't want to, you don't even know what the topic is about. But I even reinforced it by saying how to cheat on the on-screen text hook. And the next thing is I added Kim K just because of the association of like scandalous stuff. And if you actually go back and rewatch this video, you see that I actually paused quite a bit, like for a fraction of a second, longer than I normally would after if you want to cheat. If you want to cheat and add 100,000 followers faster than all of your competitors combined, that is where I'm controlling the TAM, right? And the dream outcome. You need to take the back door. You're thinking, what the hell is the back door? You don't know. So you're like, okay, I want to cheat and add 100,000 followers faster than all my competitors combined. I don't know what the back door is, so I will keep watching. I will listen for at least the next line to see what you're going to say. So this is the next line.
This goes against what every content guru preaches, but it's how Jake added 100,000 followers in 4 weeks. Alex added 34,000 followers in 10 days, and Rebecca 10,000 followers with one post.
So I give you a reason to stick around, say 100,000 followers in 4 weeks, 10,000 followers with one post, 34,000 followers in 10 days. So I give you a reason to say like, hey, it worked for them. You'll probably work for you too if you apply it and use it correctly. So keep watching. That is how I gave you a reason to, that was my super hook in order to get you to keep watching. Here's another example. Watch this.
So this post 2 days ago got me 60,000 followers. Here's what I hate about content gurus.
Okay, he first said 60,000 followers. That was already a bit of a super hook.
Advice as someone who actually has 5 million across platforms.
Okay, 5 million across platforms with even like screenshot proof and saying like exactly, how many followers per platform. You're like, okay, not only have you done it recently, but you've also done it across multiple cases. I will pay attention. Here's a third example. This is Callaway. Obviously, he makes short form content, but he uses it all the time within his YouTube videos.
By the way, I'm Callaway. I've pulled over 1 billion views on short form video. I've got 500,000 followers, and I think about this stuff all the time.
Okay, you see, 1 billion views, however, 500,000 followers, different channels, and it's like, okay, you've done it, you've achieved what I want to achieve, or given me at least enough credibility that I'll stick around and listen to what you're saying. So that is why superhook is so important. So how can you create your own superhook? I just want you to pick one of these three and use whichever one comes easiest to you. The first type of superhook is what I call results. And if you're an educational creator, there's always some sort of result you can demonstrate to the viewer, right? So I'll use a crazy example. Let's say I'm in the business niche and I sold my company for $1 billion. Then I can say, I sold my company for $1 billion. Here are the 5 things that I learned when it comes to exiting a company. So for the viewer, you're instantly thinking, oh, okay, he sold his company for $1 billion. That is something that I would want to do, or at least that demonstrates a lot of credibility for me to like trust him and give him the time in order to say like, okay, what is he going to say next? What are some of the lessons that he would know that I wouldn't know? And you would always want to say that up front because that gives you, the reason for the viewer to stick around. So the one that I always use within my content is that I grew 100,000 followers in 5 weeks. And a lot of people, very few people have done that, but since I have been able to done that effectively, that would be a credibility super hook statement that I would use right off the bat, usually within my second line. But I know what you're thinking. What if I don't have results yet? How can I demonstrate credibility? Well, the second one is what you would want to use, and this is what I call the effort super hook. You have to understand that effort and time is universally respected. When I say respected, I'm specifically talking about effort. So since successful people, or just people in general, don't want to invest time and effort in order to do things, they just want things done for them. If you spend that time and effort in order to do it for them, they will give you their time of day because they don't want to do it. So the example I use right here is like, I spent 6 weeks learning French. Let's say here are the 3 most common slangs you would want to know that would make you sound like a native French speaker, for example, right? If you're learning French and you want to like cut that journey short, you're like, oh, okay, what are those like 3 slangs that would make me sound better instantly? And it's like, I don't want to spend 6 weeks learning French, so I'll take your word for it. Another example that I always like to use is like, if you studied 200 Alex Hormozi videos, and then you can say, I studied 200 Alex Hormozi videos. Here are the 3 things about content strategy that you missed. And it's not like these like obvious stuff. It's like the stuff that it's like nuanced that you would know because you watched 200 videos. I do not want to watch 200 videos at all. So I will give you my time of day for the next 60 seconds or whatever, just to pay attention and see like, oh, can I learn something from you since you've done the work for me? Within short form content, the main goal is always you want to kind of like pre-chew all sorts of information and basically just like spoon feed it into the viewer. The better you can do that, the more engagement and views and a value you'll be able to provide, because humans in general are just lazy. The third type you can use right here is what I call research based. You can steal and borrow credibility if it's based on research by saying a line like, Harvard just published a research on why eating tomatoes are bad. And that's why you'll see a lot of creators that talk about news. They will have to use like, they would leverage, or even AI creators, right? They would use these big names like Google just launched or Claude just upgraded their. But by using these names that have like a high TAM, they can then piggyback off of that and steal some of those attention, because like you might not care about the creator themselves, but you care about Claude. So it's like you're using Claude on a day-to-day basis. Is like, okay, so how does that affect me? So you will give them the time of day because they use like, it's like they spent the time in order to figure out like, oh, what was the latest update? What has changed within the way that AI is used right now? So you will then pay attention and see like, okay, how is that relevant to me? So he's made you curious with this hook. So you stop your scroll, right? And he used a high TAM idea that builds in the reach because it applies to a lot of people. And then he's used a super hook that gives you a reason to listen to him. He has been in those situations and he has found a solution that has worked really, really well for him. The last thing he needs to do is to tell you what that question is. But before I show you that, I need to first tell you why traditional value is dead. So 4 or 5 years ago, you can always make these 4 ways to do this, 3 things to do that. It's like these types of content, and it will work really well because competition was way down back then. Just less people were creating content. Nowadays, with so many people creating content, these lists, this generalized stuff just don't work anymore because now we also have AI. Not only is competition higher, but we also have AI. So we always prefer personalized stuff over generalized stuff. So if like a person is talking about like a diet plan to like not only lose fat, but then to gain muscle, why would the person not just input their stuff within AI with Claude or ChatGPT and say like, hey, this is my body weight, this is my height, this is my, the injuries or the dietary restrictions that I have, help me to create this custom plan that helps me achieve my goal like faster. That would work 10 times better than some generic advice of saying like, hey, eating chicken breast will be helpful. So, which is why we need, net new value. So what is net new value? Net new value consists of 2 things. 1, it needs to be non-obvious where the viewer has likely never heard, and highly tactile where the viewer used today. If your insight, meaning the value, is in net new value, you might as well don't make the content. That is how serious I am about net new value, on how every single piece of content has to be net new value. So imagine if I was a sleep coach. I say, sleeping more is good. Well, guess what? That is obvious. You already know that. It is also non-tactical, where there's nothing you can do about today. It's like, yeah, sleeping more is good. So you're just going to ignore that piece of content. But if I said coffee naps, right? You take a cup of coffee, take a nap for 20 minutes. By the time you wake up, the coffee has just hit your system and you're ready to go. That is non-obvious, right? Not many people would know that. It's also highly tactical where the viewer can use today. That would be something that would perform, has the highest chance in order to perform. So always think in net new value. So what did Michael say with this script? I've bolded the few kind of key points. This is basically him saying like you're gonna ask like the interviewer, but it's like you're gonna interview a lot of people who can do the job. But in your opinion, what does the high performer look like? That is his net new value. It's non-obvious. You're basically asking the interviewer again, like to get them to give you the answer. You tell them exactly what they're looking for. If in the person that goes above and beyond to execute this role, they will basically tell you, right? They'll hand it to you on a silver platter saying like, hey, a high performer will be doing A, B, C, and D. And it is then your job in order to match what that is. So that is net new value. It's non-obvious and highly tactical, where if you left today and you had a job interview, you can go in and ask the interviewer, it's like, in your opinion, you're gonna interview a lot of people, but in your opinion, what does the high performer look like? And they will give you an answer, and you will probably get some good results from that, which is why I got 10.4 million views. It's like, duh, we stopped the scroll. Like I said, super hook to give credibility, high time idea, and then net new value. These four combination of things. So let me show you another few examples that are also net new value. So my video right here did between, I think, 130 to 150,000 views, but I'm gonna play it for you real quick.
Watch this.
Never click, never ever, never refrigerate, never touch, stop giving time, never say yes.
The real reason why she does that is because we're twice as likely to trust a stranger that tells us what not to do than what to do. But you're doing the complete opposite with your content. So just flip your content ideas around and watch it instantly do better.
So were you able to count the few things? I created curiosity because I stacked all of Lori's videos together. First, that's back to back. Second thing is that curiosity is also built in credibility because Lori's face, Shark Tank, is she's famous. She's on TV all the time. She's a business leader, a thought leader. So there's that second part. Third part is also she's also the built-in super hook, ironically, because she has the credibility. So I'm leveraging off of that, right? But the net new value is the interesting part within this specific example, because my point was you should always flip your ideas around. Instead of telling people what to do, they don't really trust you. You should tell strangers what not to do. Because if I tell you, say, oh, hey, don't go over there, it's slippery, you're going to trust me. But if I told you like, hey, come with me, I know a shortcut, you're like, who the hell is this guy? I don't know you, right? So just by flipping it, it would be easy enough. That might be that is a highly tactical piece of advice, but how can I make it more non-obvious, right? So the observation that I found was with Lori's video, she always almost every single one of her videos starts with the stop doing this, never do that, never do this, never do that. It's like always stop and never, right? So I was able to bridge that gap and make this like net new value by connecting like this non-obvious take and a highly tactical solution that you can then instantly use today and get some sort of results. The next one right here, I'm sure if you're in this content space, you already know him, Caleb Ralston. He's the GOAT. He's the content creative director that worked on Alex Hormozi and Gary Vee's personal brand. But this is his most viewed Instagram reel of all time. Let me play it real quick.
I have 4 questions that I love to ask people to help them kind of figure out their brand journey. It starts from the end goal in mind. And so it's like, what do I want to have happen? And then the next question is, what would I have to be known for in order for that to happen? The next question is, what would I have to do in order to be known for that? The next question takes you to today. What would I have to learn in order to do the things to then be known for that thing?
I'm not going to play the entire video, but you can hear those all 4 questions. And individually, you might like, oh yeah, I know those questions, but what are the chances you've heard it strung together that way, in that order, that will get you that result in order to reverse it? And he calls it his brand journey framework. And I guarantee you, any educational creator that you watch that create like educational content, right? Not entertainment. If you look at their most viewed reel, it is because of net new value. They're sharing something that is non-obvious and highly tactical. 99% of the chance of the time it's because of net new value. So let me show you one last example that I use on how to speak naturally on camera. And before I even play it, look at the details. Just do the thumbnails. RDJ, Brad Pitt, Anne Hathaway. These are high temp faces. I'm leveraging their face in order to capture attention and to stop their scroll. You're probably not going to care about me because you have no idea who the hell I am, but you're going to know them, at least one of them. And then I go, how to speak naturally on camera. high TAM idea. If you create any sort of content, you're an actor, you're a creator of some sort, you're going to have to speak on camera. So what am I going to share?
If they have the same exact script as 99% of people in the world on a burner account where no one knew them, their videos are getting more engagement. That's not luck. But there's a reason why Hollywood actors sound better even if they're saying normal lines. This is straight from the coaches who train them. Most creators think that rhythm is something you either have or you don't, but it's not. Here's the test. Read your script and imagine drawing a line at the end of every sentence. If the line looks straight and even, your delivery will sound flat. Great scripts looks jagged. Short line, long.
So that's exactly what I was telling you at the start. Short line, long line, short again. That's how you create rhythm. If it's straight, it's going to sound flat. And this is a non-obvious take, right? It's something that you probably, chances are, have not thought about, but you can then use today and get some results. If you're scripting your next video, you're going to instantly look at the end, connecting the end of your lines and see if it does that. If it's straight, you're probably going to rework it. You can get some immediate results from that. And it's not obvious. Chances are you've not heard that, which is why this reel did 170,000 views. So these are the 5 reasons as to why his video did 10.4 billion views. He scripted for pace. Obviously, it was off the cuff, but Michael is a highly effective communicator, so he didn't need to script for that pacing. But if he did, it would be that long short type of setup. He used a hook that created curiosity, a high TAM idea that applies to a lot of people, a super hook to demonstrate credibility and to give you a reason to watch his content, and then net new value. It was non-obvious and highly tactical, where if you had to leave, like I said, if you left and went to a job interview today, you can use it and get some crazy results. But this only scratches the surface when it comes to building a 100K personal brand. So if you actually want to add 100,000 followers this year and create content that gets you leads and clients every single week, I recorded this video right here. It's called a 100K personal brand plan. It outlines the different stages in order to get to 100K and also the individual steps of each stages. So click here, check that out. Also, let me know down below what other videos you want me to break down. I reply to every single comment. Catch you guys on the next one.